weird moment where it. Yes, this was faster than expected. All right.
There we go, straight away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. Fina here from Fina Reads. And as you can see, I have a guest with me. That is Ash. And Ash will introduce himself real quick. Right?
Hi. Yeah. Cool. So I'm Ash, or AS Colworth. I've just released my debut novel, Dreams of the Fallen. It's epic fantasy, which is it's kind of a hard one to explain without spoiling it, but it's kind of part Terminator, part Dark Crystal in like a Roman wrapper.
Wait, what?
That's the way I've been describing it. It's the influences of where it came about originally was meant to be a sci-fi. It was wrote as like robots who were self-aware, and then hundreds of years later, when humans were thought to be extinct, the robots kind of treated humans as like myths, but also like gods. And then that idea just eventually evolved into a fantasy, which is what I wanted to write all along. Which then, how do you fit that in a fantasy? Well, it's more of a, with magic and with a created race. So that's kind of the weird wrapper that it came into.
It totally makes sense. So having read it would absolutely work as robots. That is weird. I've never had that where you just replace the race of a character in a book with something else. You're like, it still works. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was. I wanted to write fantasy, but I'd already wrote what I was going to be a sci-fi, and I didn't. I mean, the thing was, the more I started researching about publishing, especially as an indie author, in the beginning, it's really hard to write in multiple genres. So if I wrote a sci-fi and then I wanted to write fantasy, I'd lose a lot of my readers. So then it's like starting again each time you write a series. So kind of pick my lane to at least to get started anyway.
Yeah. Although there are a lot of authors that eventually switched over a little bit or added, like wrote in both genres at the same time, right? Like a sci fantasy or something. Yeah, I can see that. All right. So Dreams of the Fallen, that's your debut novel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But you wrote a novella first.
The novella came first, yeah.
You have a debut novella and a debut.
Which are they're quite different. They're very different stories, I think. So yeah, the novella was my way of kind of introducing the world, but at the same time, it was a very different story to tell because it's at a time when magic is a big thing. There's like an empire that has almost used magic in an industrial way. And then the novel is 300 years later, where there's been like this post-apocalyptic event where that's not the case, and magic is kind of, with the humans it's controlled, and then with everything else it's more of a myth. So they do read very differently. So writing them was very different experience.
All right. So what did you have the idea first though for the novella, like for the basically base of your world, or did you have the idea first for the novel but then decided to write the novella first to help with the novel?
The first was, as I said, it was originally wrote with robots, and it was originally a short story, which was Dayla's and Tactus's first meet, and how they thought that humans had been extinct, and that it was basically a short story about that interaction. And then from there, when I made it into a fantasy, I plotted out the first book, but then wrote the novella first.
Gotcha. And the novella came out like 2022. Is that like it has been out for a little bit, right?
It came out in 2022, but I didn't really push it until this year. So it sort of just sat there ready to go, kind of thing.
Awesome. And then when you read Dreams of the Fallen, so that is one of the things that I ran into a little bit, right? And we had a little conversation about that because I started reading Dreams of the Fallen and I was like, yep, I'm good. Like, I don't need all this stuff up front. I'll figure it out. I didn't. So did you write Dreams of the Fallen in that way that you have to read the novella first? And I'm saying have with quotation marks, but did you do that on purpose, or was it kind of like oh yeah, that works out well, and it was like a happy accident?
Kind of, yeah. So it was wrote in a way that it was very much meant to be connected. I wanted it to feel like if you read the novella, you weren't just reading another story. I wanted it to. Sorry, my dog's just decided to jump in.
I'll go.
It's more of a. you read it, you get a much broader background. You understand why the world's in the state that it's in, but at the same time, the aim was to be. If you didn't want to read it, you didn't have to. And I still think it does do that. But I have the feedback I've got is, yeah, it is a little bit more like, actually this adds a lot of value to the story, which really helps. So a lot of people are finding that reading it first, it really helps their enjoyment of the actual the first book.
Yeah. It's funny. I wonder how it would have been, since I pinged you when I was around chapter 9, and you said, yeah, chapter 10 is when things started to like come together in the main book without having read the novella first.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious if I wouldn't have read the novella, like if I wouldn't have paused at chapter 9 and then went to the novella and just would have continued.
Yeah.
But we will never know, I guess. Just saying hi to Josh real quick. Hey, Josh, I thought your youngest has a birthday today and you need to prepare a cake. Why are you here? Why are you not preparing a cake? I mean, I'm happy that you're here, but don't forget the cake.
Maybe he's making the cake or getting the cake while watching,
Possible. It's like driving and watching YouTube, right? Don't watch and drive. No, anyway, well, whatever. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you could read it. I'm glad you could read it. Awesome. All right. So novel. The novel has a pretty good ending. Like the way the story ends, it wraps up pretty much everything. There's a little bit open. So
Yeah.
what's the plan going forward? What is it going to be? Is it going to be like a series of standalones? Is it a trilogy? Tell us a little bit about your plans there.
Yeah. So I wrote it in a way that it's a series that are all connected. It's a story that starts from book 1 and goes through to the final book. But at the same time, the first one in particular is you can pick it up, and if you decided that I enjoyed it, but I don't want to carry on, it works like that. It doesn't make you feel like, oh, I need the second book in order to have any satisfaction. That was the thing that worried me the most. So the story is, the hero confronts the villain, whatever happens, and then that's the end. But that story itself isn't finished. There is a lot more threads at that to pick. It's more. So I'm obviously writing the second book now, this is the strangest thing about this. I'm talking about a book that I wrote ages ago, a few months ago, and then, but all I can think about is the book that I'm writing now, which is the second book. But that picks up a couple of years later, and it deals with the ramifications of the ending. So what happened after, like what the consequences of that ending. So, and it threads through that, and there's a few things that I've left open for final book, but we'll see how we go with that.
All right. Is that like, I find it interesting that you're so that you think so much about like, okay, I want to make sure that book 1 can be read on its own, just in case someone doesn't like it, that they don't have to read like whatever, how many books you decide to write. Is that something that's maybe a weird question, but that you have been burnt with before with fantasy, where like, man, I'm not vibing with this, but now I have to read all of these books in the series so I can figure out what it is all about.
I mean, I see what you mean. No, not exactly, not like that. It's more, for me, it's more like when I'm reading a book, and you don't know when the next one's coming out. I wanted to encourage people to buy it and read it now, and not feel like I'm going to wait until all the series is done because I need to binge it all, because there's going to be a great cliffhanger at the end, and it's going to really damage my enjoyment. Whereas if you've got like, okay, it's not finished, you can see where the threads are that are left open, but at the same time the main story is finished, so you can quite happily wait until the next book, quite patiently wait for the next one to come, because it can, obviously the whole publishing side, it can take a long time to get
no kidding. The list of open series that I have where I'm waiting for the next book to come out is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what I didn't want.
Yes, I appreciate that. Dear other authors, if you're listening, do it like Ash is doing it, please.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
A good thing to follow.
All right. So you also said, other than Terminator inspired, which I love.
It fits, I promise.
It does, totally. It does.
It's just a weird mix.
It totally does. The other thing is it has a very heavy Roman influence, like Roman Empire influence. Tell us a little bit more about that. Was it also more like a happy accident, or is that something you're generally very interested in? Like, where does that influence come from?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of an obsession of mine. you know, like reading non-fiction books about Caesar and various ancient Roman books, and following on from that, when you create a fantasy world, when you get to the actual world building side, and you start thinking about how the society works, in fantasy they tend to fall into the typical medieval setting, and I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to do something that was a little bit different, but not something that is completely like foreign to what we're expecting.
Yeah.
So I think the Roman culture as well is something that people are very interested in, but at the same time, it's not really seen in the wide variety of books. I mean, obviously, something like Red Rising, it's done very well with, but other than that, there's not too lot. So I thought that was quite fun sort of culture to play with and mold into a fantasy setting, so that it's not exact. It doesn't fit perfectly. Like there's bits that I've tweaked and made my own, but that the fact that there's a Senate, there's a few hundred members of the Senate, and they all kind of vote and that kind of thing is there. But at the same time, instead of, you've got like a Dominus, which I created as the head of the Senate instead, which has a slightly different role because there's a king involved, which makes things a little bit different as well. So the politics sort of, I started from what I could find on Rome and I was looking things up, and then from there I kind of broke it down with the fantasy elements.
Made it your own, essentially.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. That totally makes sense. Yeah, the backstabbing politician also fits nicely into the Roman
inspiration. You can't do politics about it, right?
My goodness, they were not settled with what was going on in some cases. That was awesome. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, that definitely is one of the things that I picked up. Also, how you designed the world with the settlements that you had around, like you had a main seat of a king emperor, and then you had a bunch of settlements that were also ruled by then underlings, essentially.
Yeah.
I thought that was very well done, and that fit really nicely into that Roman time too, because that's exactly how the Roman ran their big empire back then.
Yeah, right? It was really hard to do though, because it's pulling at threads. The more you sit down and think about it, you're like, right, okay, you've got this big post-apocalyptic event where this created species has rebelled against the humans.
Yeah,
humans are thought to be wiped out by the Khazar, so they can't be everywhere. But at the same time, I wanted to have more than just one hidden city in a cave. And how does that work? So the more I started designing the world, and it just became quite complicated to kind of fit it all in. I just went hard for myself, basically.
Well, I mean, it turned out well, so you know, that's a good thing. All right. Your book is also a bit on the darker side, right? Like not just the political backstabbing, but the whole event, like post-apocalyptic event, everything that kind of came out of it, essentially. How the characters live on both sides, like the humans and the. Am I pronouncing this right? By the way, I keep saying Koza, but am I pronouncing this right?
Yeah, Koza. Yeah, Koza is how I say it as well.
Because the first time I was filming my review and I was like, how do you even? And I was sitting. The B-roll was funny. I should have put that into the video. I deleted it.
Yeah, you should have.
But I was sitting here like Koza, how? Because my German head goes into Latin mode, right? Because it's
right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Fun things when you read about.
Trouble with fantasy. It's the trouble. It's always, every book you read is like that. It's there's always a character at least that you can't quite. You think, is it this way or this way? And
but it's fun. So. Like everything that came after the post-apocalyptic event, how the Koza and the humans live, the political backstabbing, just the storyline in itself. Like there are a lot of dark moments and a lot of kind of realizations that the characters are going through. How dark are you planning on going with the series? Like, is it like a dark level, or are you planning going into grimdark eventually with it? Like, where's your direction there?
I'm trying to keep it at a balance, to be honest. I don't want it's never going to be like really dark that explores themes like rape and like other darker themes like that. But I like the fact that you don't know which character's safe. I don't want you reading a chapter where a character's life is at risk and then you thinking it's fine, they got plot armor, it's not a problem. I want you to think that this might be my favorite character. This could be the last chapter. You know, I want that. And with the obviously with the politics and stuff, it's more making sure that just because you want something to happen and you're looking for that happy ending doesn't mean that things work out that way. So you've got things that you're working towards, and then there's consequences of the good and the bad. So yeah, there is that darker shade that just follows every chapter. So just a balance, basically, I think is what I'm going for.
So good old dark fantasy, really. That's what it's going to be. Yeah. Good old dark epic fantasy in a sense. Awesome. Do you have, like, when you recommend your book to readers, do you have like an ideal reader in mind in that sense? Like, is there like a way you say, okay, if you like these types of books, then my book would be great for you, or if you like these types of stories, then my book would really not be good for you?
I think it's more. That's a really hard one.
Everybody can read it. Everybody needs to read it.
Everybody read it. Everybody buy it now. It's not too wildly out there for epic fantasy. You're not going to read it and be like, oh my god, what is this? If you're a big fan of the big epic fantasies of Brandon Sanderson or George R. R. Martin, like, you will find something there. But it also kind of shies away. I try to be a little bit more original with the tropes and stuff that I put in. So there is kind of an element of the chosen one and those kind of things in there. But I just made sure that I didn't do it in a way that's been done 1,000 times. It's not like, prophecies of this and then it's going to lead to, defeating the bad guy because of this prophecy says or whatever. It's more that, okay, there's a chosen one there, but it's done in a way that wasn't predicted by prophecies. It was more by happens, and trying to avoid spoilers on that because that's like,
it's I'm thinking too, like, I just had a thought. It was like, oh no, I cannot say that.
but yeah, so they're sort of twisting the familiar tropes, basically, so it's not too out there, but at the same time it is something very familiar to epic fantasy fans.
Yeah. So how did that work for you when you wrote this then? Because like, you probably realized really fast, like, okay, there's a chosen one trope in here, and I don't want to do the same thing that everybody else has been doing. So how challenging was that from a writing perspective then? How often did you go in there and it's like, oh no, that is too typical. Let me redo the scene.
The chosen one, not so much, actually, because that was an accident. I kind of wrote that. I didn't see it in my first draft. It was only when I read back and I was like, oh, I've put a chosen one trope in here. But like,
a happy little accident.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's like the main focus of the story. Like, she's the main character, so yeah, I couldn't just rip that out. And kind of when I looked at it anyway, it was more, my concerns was more for making her character shine rather than worrying about the trope that kind of got saddled with her, because she's quite a hard character to write in the fact that I wanted her to be strong and trying to find her place in the world, but at the same time, like, she's only got memory of the last 10 years, so she needs to be a little bit naive, but naive characters normally can be quite unlikable. So I was trying to avoid that at the same time, so that was quite challenging. So it was more rewriting her character rather than worrying about the tropes that she was stuck with her.
Gotcha. So she doesn't end up in an annoying character arc, but more like still likable naive versus oh my god, girl.
Someone you can understand. Like, she's got 10 years of memory. Like, she's not going to be the most confident person in the world, and she's kind of relied on this one person to keep her safe for 10 years. And then she's now suddenly on her own. Like, you're not naturally going to walk into that situation and be super confident. So it's trying to make sure that feels real and at the same time not unlikable.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so what are your immediate plans for the series? I know you have, your book just came out end of May, but I know there's something else that you're currently working on that is happening this year still, I believe, if I remember that correctly.
So paperback for the novella. Yes. Yeah, that's I'm hoping for October, that one. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't. Maybe a little bit earlier. That's the cover's in the work now. It's obviously it's just reworking the current cover into a paperback format, so it's nothing too complicated. So that should be back to me soon, and then I can start thinking about dates for that. So that will be good. Because I'm a big fan of that cover. I like that cover, so that would be nice to see them sort of side by side. And then after that, I'm working on book 2 now. I'm still in the early stages of writing. I've got March next year in my head for that one.
Wow, that is pretty soon though.
It's one of those ones that it's a bit it turned out a bit bigger than I expected. I wrote the outline for it, and then I was like, I'm trying to put too much in here. I need to rewrite it. So I rewrote the outline to make it shorter, and I was like, now I've now damaged the story by doing this. So then I put it back into its original state, and then just sat down and thought about, all right, let's think about this seriously. And then I kind of finally come up with an idea that I was really happy with. But it's looking like, if things go as I'm writing at the moment, it's probably going to be maybe 200 pages longer than the first book. So
that's all right. That's all right.
If it's epic fantasy, it's fine.
I just wanted to say,
find the word count.
Yeah, I mean, yours is 400 and a little bit, right? So that's on the shorter side.
It's the short side, yeah, definitely. And I mean, I did that on purpose. I wanted people to kind of get an introduction to the world on a story that wasn't so overwhelming with. There is a fair few names in there, but it's not an overwhelming scale where there's loads of names to remember, loads of different characters. That's why I chose to just mainly stick to 2 point of view characters, one that I kind of sprinkle in every now and again, just to give context of what's happening on the other side. And then this one I've kind of added a couple more, but again, it's just mainly that the main characters just have a lot more to say in the second book.
Yeah, well, now that the base is done, right? Like the base of the book, we now know what's going on and what's going to happen. So, oh my god, this is going to be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, this is the story that I'm really excited to tell. This is the one that I really enjoyed writing the first one, but this second one is kind of next level for me. I'm just it's going to be really good when I finally get to it.
Awesome! I'm excited. I'm excited to get to it because like the ending was a done ending. Like it's not that you're sitting there and it's not a cliffhanger ending by any means, right? But there's a lot that is happening, but there's that main story string where you're like, okay, this is very interesting where you're going with this. And again, I'm also trying not to say anything. this is really hard.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm kind of saying about book 2 at the moment, which I'm happy to share, is in book 1 there's these unidentified monsters that they don't really understand what they are and where they came from, and that's kind of, it's a big plot element in the first book, but it's very much left open. That's not dealt with at all, and that's what the second book's about, and how that fits into the consequences of the first book and the story itself. So that's the focus.
That's good to know. Yeah, they were a little bit like, who are you? Where are you coming from? So that's good that we get a bit more.
There's too much. Yeah, if I had added them in as well, like it would have been too many enemies at once, kind of thing. You know, there was a lot going on at once for that. Otherwise,
it's all right. Like the rule of fantasy: never give your characters a break. So you need things that happen, right?
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, it would have been, if there was one enemy to fight, it would have been very easy for the main character to go, right, well, then we just go charge over there. Whereas that doesn't, when you look at history, it doesn't normally happen like that. Normally, when one enemy rises, another goes, oh, I can take advantage of this. And then so you've got multiple conflicts at once. So I just wanted to make sure that was definitely a big factor of the book.
Yeah, that would be too easy otherwise, too. You're right. If it's just one enemy. Yeah. All right. You talked already about the cover. I like the covers as well. So tell us a little bit more about the cover art, where this is coming from. Give us a little bit background. What is it called? Behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, so the story is about someone who's got a handprint on her chest, which it looks like it's been burnt there, and that was basically linking her to old magic, and that was as soon as I thought of that needs to be on the cover somewhere. And I'm a big fan of the covers that have the silhouettes where you see the either a backdrop or something on the inside. So I very quickly decided that was quite easy. I was like, okay, it's got to be the handprint with Crystal Peak on being with the army marching on it. Originally it was like that, but my wife was like, it looks like a high five. So we turned it like that. So it looks to make it, and to be fair, when I look at the original design when it's straight, and then the one that is now, it's like, okay, this is something. So when you think about the mark on the chest, it would be like that. It wouldn't be
it wouldn't be like kind of
hand uncomfortably. It wouldn't be like that. So so it's very much, I mean, for people who read the novella know that's like how they created the beings, like the humans who had magic, they physically dragged them out of a crystal. So that's the mark that's left. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I want to
High five.
hype.
Yeah, no, we don't want that. We don't want that.
Awesome. Okay, so now we've learned a lot about your book. Tell us a little bit about, as we talk about behind the scenes, right? Like your writing journey. What are your writing habits? Are you someone who sits down every morning for 2 hours and writes no matter what, or what is kind of your approach to that?
Yeah, I try to write in the mornings every day. With work, it becomes difficult. When I do night shifts, it throws me off. When it's a bit of a challenge with that. But on a typical day off, it's the first thing I do is get up, have something to eat, and then straight on to writing for as long as It's not really a set in time. It's more just as long as I can, and then until it feels like, okay, I'm just not making sense now, or it isn't working. But just take a break. And I usually I try and get somewhere around the 2,000 words a day mark.
That's quite a bit.
I mean, I'm not saying I keep it all, but but yeah, it changes. It depends on my working schedule and that I have to I work shifts, so it's just fitting everything around that.
Yeah.
I like to be able to write 2,000 words a day because I get it done a lot quicker. But
yeah. Well, yeah, and especially if then the dogs come around the corner, they want attention too in the middle of it, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why the mornings are great, because they just get up, they eat, and then they go back to sleep again. So the mornings are very chilled in my house. So
fair.
it's the best time for it.
Fair. And when you write, so you already talked a little bit about you create an outline. So how much of a plotter are you? Like, do you try to have as much detail in your outline as possible, or do you still leave some things up to chance for, well, let's see while I'm writing where the character is going with me, and then I adjust as I go? Like, what's your process there?
Yeah, I think I'd say probably on the heavier side of outlining. I usually work out the story, what's the key points first, and then how it ends, and then from there I kind of write a bit of the save the cat style of outlining, quite roughly though. It's not anything massively detailed, and I usually like to have the chapters worked out. So if I can work just a single sentence just explaining what is happening in each chapter, and then that from there, then I don't get lost, because I can fill in all the blanks of what's happening in the chapter, but it's when you sit down trying to think about what's going to happen next and you don't really know where it's going. I just need to know the destination, basically. So got it. That's my process.
And then do you go book by book, or do you already have like the complete ending? Like, do you already know?
Oh God, no. I know the key plot points. I know how it ends. I know the key plot points of book 3, and I know some of the stuff that happens in the others. But it's very much a case of I kind of fill that in as I get closer to it. I just need to know where it ends, what my main plot points kind of teasing their way to, and other than that, I can sort of do it myself then.
All right. So do you then know already how many books you're going to have for this world, like total? Or is that something where we're like, I have to see, like I have to write this book first, and then I have to see what happens to then decide how many more?
I think I will know by the time I've wrote book 3.
Okay.
Because of I think I probably have a better idea then, because I'm just thinking now that I already know what's happening in book 3, so I should by then have a kind of an over just a bit more of an understanding of all the extra bits that I'm going to fill in there. But gotcha. I think it's going to be somewhere between 4 and 6.
4 and 6. Nice. Yeah, epic fantasy, right?
yeah, exactly. I think it'll probably be probably about 5, I imagine. Sort of in the middle. Let's just go with the average.
Somewhere between 4 and 6. I mean, there's not much yet.
No, I mean, it'd be nice if it was 2 trilogies. That would be nice, but I'm not going to force it if it doesn't fit.
Yeah. Whatever makes sense, absolutely. And you need to have fun too, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't make sense if you write something just to get that 6th book and then you stretch things out. Like, the reader notices kind of that stuff, right? So
you don't want any filler books as well. Like, it's so easy to read. So you get to some series and you just think, I don't know why this book was written. You could have bypassed this story, but that's what I don't want. I don't think that would just do more harm than good.
Yeah. And while you're working on the books, are you thinking about things like, "Ooh, this is an interesting character. We could create a novella for this character to give them a little bit more backstory on the side? Is that something you're thinking through as well?
Yeah. So yeah, I've already got one novella planned after I wrote the second book, which will hopefully come out sort of shortly after that one. It's more that with the novellas you get a chance to explore the world, but not have the same themes that the main story has. So it's not the first book. It's kind of an end of the world situation, whereas the novella doesn't necessarily need to be like that. It can be a bit smaller stakes, but maybe not too small. But it's just needs to fit within the world, but not necessarily the main story. So that's hopefully will come out after book 2.
All right. Can I throw one novella idea at you as well?
Yes,
If it's
please.
not
Yes.
already that one? I'd love to hear more about the seer character that we are meeting in Darktown.
Oh yes.
That would be
Painter.
a fantastic novella to get her backstory.
Yes.
I really liked her.
I do have plans for her, so that's
Awesome.
Pleased to know that. Yeah, she's kind of key to, because I'd like to write more series in this world as well. This was meant to be the series that sets the world up, and then from there I've got lots of different ideas that I could possibly do that are tied to that, because I wanted to create a world where it wasn't elves, dwarves, orcs, that kind of thing. It was very much, I have different races, but they're not seen anywhere else, and it's its own thing. So this is kind of the
Very much so,
to how there's different races and how they fit into, how they sort of fit with each other.
Yeah, got it. Hello, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Glad you made it. Awesome. With your debut novel, so it's now, we already have August. What? Okay, so May, June, July, August, 4 months, 3 months. Your book is out for 3 months now.
Yeah,
what are some of the things that you learned during that time? Yeah, right about. It's plus minus math not working. It's weekend. Come on.
my head's the same. I released and then I went away for a month, so my head is just
it's out
everywhere else.
It came out this year. So did you have like a couple of learnings where you're like, ooh, I wish I would have known that before, or oh, that is interesting that it happened this way? Like something you can share maybe with other indie authors as well that want to publish their book?
Yeah, it's don't underestimate the marketing side. I didn't, I mean, underestimate maybe is not the right word, but I was like, I'll do that later. And I kept putting off the social media. I kept putting off the newsletter and all of these things, which I started like very shortly before launch, which I think did a lot of damage in terms of, I see it's a lot of authors that have already got an audience built up, and they release a book and then it goes and then it rides on the algorithm of Amazon and such, which really helps. So it's just making sure that you're interacting with people, you're talking about your book way before it comes out, and sort of slowly building, because it takes so long, and it's crazy how time consuming it all is. You don't realize, and you think, oh, I'll just do this, and by the time you're sitting and you're making a load of like silly videos for Instagram or whatever, and then it's like, oh, I've just spent like 6 hours doing a week's worth of stuff. Like it is crazy. And then your newsletters, they can be time consuming as well.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to see the videos, I'll put in your Instagram here in the chat, and I have the Instagram down in the description too for those of you who are not joining live but are watching the replay. If you want to see the silly videos.
They're very silly. They're just, yeah.
They have to be.
Look at my book. Look at my book. And I'm here. Hello. This is what I'm really like.
One of those silly videos actually was more about you reading also, because you're also a big fantasy reader, right? So one of those videos was more about like, hey, I'm an indie author and I kind of need more indie recommendations. So I'm now turning it around on you. What would be your indie recommendation for the world? Which indie books would you recommend people read? Other than yours, of course.
Just with mine. You don't need to read any of it.
I mean,
and if you've got it, just buy it again. No, I think I've just finished Of War Ruin by Ryan Cahill, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. I started the series, I was like, okay, this is pretty good. Got to the second book, I was like, okay, this is really good. And then the third book I just finished, I'm absolutely obsessed now. So that's the one that's kind of on my mind. But I've got like a lot of recommendations now, which I'm starting to read through. So definitely check out Ryan Cahill if you haven't by somehow. heard of him. I think everybody has at this point, but it's one of those ones that lives up to the hype. It really is amazing.
That's good to know. Yeah, that's one of those that is also still on my long list of books that I really need to read. I have it somewhere like in this vicinity. Is book 1.
And there's the novellas as well. He's managed to write his stories and then get the novellas that fit, but they're very much their own story, and they could be told on their own, but with the backdrop of the stories, they're just so much more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good to know. Okay. Yeah, and I mean that fits to you then too, right? Like, I mean, your novella fits really nicely into the main world as well, and it gives you a little bit more background to enjoy it even more. So
and it's something that is for me. I always, the way I wanted to originally to write was, I wanted to write a book and then write a completely different book and then write another different book. But in the indie world, people buy in series, so you'll make it a lot harder for yourself to make money if you're writing 2 or 3 series at once. It's not saying it's not done. Some people have done it and they've done very well at it, but in general sense, it's really, really hard to do that. So the novellas give me a bit of an excuse to write this different story, which isn't tied to the characters that I've been writing all day, every day, and being able to tell a very different story.
Yeah, I'm done with you, Cassius. Oh, I can't see you anymore. Go away.
Cassius is a pain in the ass. Like, that character, he's the hardest character to write because everything about him he contradicts himself all the time. He's a politician, but he hates politics. He's the most loyal person, but all his family and stuff don't want anything to do with him. So he's a pain to write that character. So it's a lot of revision on him.
Talk about marketing. It worked, by the way.
Oh wow, thank you very much. Look at that.
There you go.
Thank you so much. That's great.
Marketing for today done. Check.
Done. Yeah, I can tick that off. No more silly videos today. I can have a break.
Yeah. Okay, bye. No, just
call it.
Cassius I love that about him, though. So talking about Cassius hating politics, because how did he even end up in the position? So just as a little bit of yeah, Mark, like, I mean, if you put it in the chat, right, we have to talk about it. I love that you bought it.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Oh, Cassius. So because to give a bit of background, right? We have our Senate and we have our, I mix up King, Emperor, Dominus, all the same. We have our leading person. And then Cassius is someone close to the Emperor that essentially is running the country in the absence of the Emperor, right? Like, that's kind of, I'm summarizing it really badly, but yeah.
The Senate has one figure who's basically oversees the Senate, and if the Senate all disagree on something, he's the one who makes the final choice.
Yeah.
But he works directly underneath the king, who obviously the king has absolute power. But it also means that when the king's not around, then the Dominus, which is what Cassius is, will then run the city.
Yeah.
So at the point of this book, the king's not around. He's not been around for a while, and Cassius finds himself in a leader position, and basically the Senate don't want him there because he's got, as they would think of, dirty blood. So he comes from Darktown, which is where the poor people live. So the city itself is in a cave, and there's like a big sort of, the cave is cracked in the ceiling, and there's light that floods the middle of the city, and that's where all the rich people live. That's where the rich farms live, with where all the sunlight is. And then in the Darktown, they grow mushrooms and farm insects and things like that. So it's a lot poorer area, and it's not a very desirable place. So someone that comes from that is just seen as beneath them. So he doesn't fit, and he rubs everybody the wrong way because he's quite strong-minded, and he ain't afraid to say it, basically.
Yeah,
and he says,
but he hates it. Yeah, he hates.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's one of those people. He's very loyal because he ended up in that position because he met the king when he was young. So outside of Darktown, there's a network of caves which goes out to the city, and they don't know where the scope of them, because anyone who's basically trekked in them has got lost. And he rescued the king, who was lost. He was a prince at the time when they were younger, within the cave system, and then they became fast friends. And as a result, the king kind of dragged him into politics, and out of a sense of loyalty to him, he's followed him through to this really high position that nobody wants him there, and he doesn't want to be there either.
Yeah. So I can totally see that he's a frustrating character to write, because he is in a good sense, a frustrating character to read. So he was definitely the one that I that I liked the most out of all. I mean, I liked all the characters, but he had like this conflict in him was done so well. This
Yeah.
constant with, I have to do this now. I want to save this, and I want to make sure the city runs properly or the empire runs properly, right? And we are protected, and we are not being attacked now by whatever. But at the same time, like, my God, I hate these people. I do not want to deal with them. Why can you not just all be straightforward? Yeah.
Well, he's the person who very quickly can figure out what's the right thing to do in a situation. He's very good at sort of picking that out. But you know, he's got quite a messed up past, and he deals with that every day. He's very distant from his family. He lost his brother when he was younger, which had a huge impact on him. So the way he carries himself is very conflicted, and he's very much sharing a lot of his time with people that he can't stand. So
yeah, and the trick for him is also a little bit, and I think that's what I appreciate about him the most too. As you said, right, he's very direct. Like, he if he wants to go somewhere, like, he tells you where he wants to go. Like, he's not very good at the politics.
No, he's not. That's the thing I wanted to get across. He's not meant to be good. He's not one of those people that he's doing the best he can, but he's making choices that you can go, this is a terrible idea. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, but I love that because, you know, I'm someone, I think a lot about this kind of stuff because, you know, when you live in the real world, sometimes you have to be settled, right? And sometimes you have to go like out of your way to get to where you actually want to go. People don't appreciate if you say directly, like, this is what I want to do. But I'm that type of person too. I just, you know, I don't want to go somewhere. I say, I'm going to go there, right? I'm not, you know, trying to maneuver my way around and push them into the right.
He's just
that's
not
what
very
I really
political.
appreciate.
He's in the sense that he's not. He thinks ahead, but not far enough, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning of the book, we find him in a state where he's in charge of the city, and he's actually had to bring the royal army into the city, which is something that you don't do, you know, because that's just going to cause conflict. But he's done that to basically enforce his decisions for a senate and the civilians that just aren't listening to him. So he's put himself in a situation where he goes, well, you will, because I'm going to make you, and obviously that has huge consequences.
Yeah. Why don't you understand? Like, there was even a scene where, not in the exact words, but essentially what he was saying was, why don't you understand why I'm doing this? Like, I'm doing this for your own good, but you're rebelling right now. Like, can you not see what I'm seeing? Like, I love this.
He doesn't have the patience for it, I think, is the best way to describe him.
Yeah, very fair. Like, I have other things going on. Just understand this. Like, I need to do. Yes. That is awesome. All right. Okay. Talking about books, what's your favorite book so far this year that you've read?
Oh God, this year. Well, I felt like I've been reading On War and Ruin for like ages because that book was a beast. But I can't even think what else I've been reading, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
We have a War and Ruin because that's one on my head. I've literally just finished it today, so we'll plug that book again.
That is
just awesome. Dragons. Just give me dragons. That's what I want. Which is kind of funny considering there's no dragons in my book.
I mean, you have lizards.
Yeah, I mean there is. If I don't know if it's very much in the first book, but in the novella, there's dragons have obviously been a part of my world because like they're in their mythology. It's in in the first book there's a dictator who rules and he wears a crown and that's got dragons imprinted on it and it's tied into their religion. So I just want it to be like in mythology, like what in our world, and then if I want to do something with that in a future series, it's there, woven in.
But you also have, don't they ride lizards? I know they're not called lizards; they're called something else, and I'm terrible with names, so I'm obviously not remembering that right now. It starts with an A.
Advar, yeah.
That, yes, I imagined them as lizards. Am I wrong with that?
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, they're just really big lizards that they ride instead of mounts. I just wanted something that would look really cool riding across a desert, you know, something that would have some speed going across sand, and horses just wasn't cutting it.
Yeah, I mean, lizards makes more sense in the desert too, really. I mean, I know there are horses in the desert, like if you go like into the Arabic countries, but the lizard makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, if you're the whole premise of the book is humans and their created species have been separated, and the humans are hiding in the desert, so they need something that can ride across open desert and not die because it's thirsty, sort of thing, you know. So it's
kind of fair. Fair.
That's where that came from.
That absolutely makes sense.
Something a bit different.
All right. Last questions on the indie front that I have for you. Like, what made you decide to go indie? Was that a purposeful choice, or was that just something that you're like, oh, let's just see what happens? Did you try to approach trade publishers? What was your journey there?
So I kind of just wrote the book at the beginning. I kept coming up with ideas, and I'd looked at both. I think originally I'd not really considered self-publishing. I assumed, like a lot of people do, where self-publishing is lesser quality.
Yeah.
And then I read some self-published books, and I was like, I really like these. These are very well done. And then, like, the more I looked into it, the more I liked the creative control. I don't really want someone telling me that my cover needs to look like this. You need to change this character, or something big, or even down to, I've seen, I can't remember the author now or the book name, but there was basically a title, and it involved, they put the word king in it because it sounded good, but there wasn't a king in the story, so it was, and the author was trying to argue against it, but it didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't end up well, so they basically went, no, it will sell more copies that way. So they got a title that they didn't like, and I didn't want anything like that. And then the more I looked into it, the more I was like, well, this is very doable. It's just, you need to dedicate a lot more time to it, in terms of you've got to learn a lot more platforms. It's how are you going to release it, what price you're going to set it at, how you're going to, all the little details like that, get where you're going to source an editor from. Like, if you can plan it that way, for me anyway, it feels very rewarding. And I wouldn't cut it out and be like, no, I'll never go in the traditional published way, but I think for this series, it very much needs to just stand on its own 2 feet, just for me pushing it, because I got the story out that I wanted, and I'm really, really proud of it, and I'd like it to stay that way.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And the good thing is, the image for self-published seems to be changing lately a lot. So there's a lot more, in general, that myth, basically, that indie publish is terrible. I think that is slowly dying right now. I think people are realizing that there's really good quality stuff out there. And even trade publishers are grabbing indie books left and right. Like, in the last 2-3 years, we've seen a lot of, and they just published it. I mean, I have my own opinion on that part because, lazy, but publish aside. But, they're grabbing them and just publishing them again and giving them a bit more marketing push through that.
They follow where the money is, and that just shows that there's a lot more money in indie publishing now than there ever has been. And I think there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of really good quality indie books. When you look in the top 100, like, fantasy books anyway, you look at epic fantasy or something like that, and there's always a few epic fantasies in the top 10 all the time. There's an author, A.E. Rain, who did a book called Winter's Fury, which I really like. It's more the Norse mythology side. I've seen that in the top 10 like pretty much every week I've checked. I think it's done really well. So it just proves that these indie books now, either the quality suddenly shot up, which I don't quite think is true. It's more that they're now getting recognized more than ever, and people are reading good ones and then sort of passing them on as they would a traditional published book.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've always said, right, like, it was always this argument with, like, oh no, they're not high quality, or it's terrible stories or whatnot. And I was like, they are terrible books in trade publishing. Like, just because
they're not wrong, that is true, but in trade publishing, well, you can have the same issues, big time.
Yeah,
I mean, they'll just pick up what sells, and sometimes a book can be poorly written, but if it sells, it will get it will get picked up traditionally anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, where can people find you? I already indie all the way. Yep. I love my indie books. That is something that, since I joined booktube as a viewer, but also as a content creator, that is something that I appreciate a lot. I've read so much indie since then, and some of my favorite books are all indie published. So yeah, I agree with that sentiment.
I'm reading more indie than ever. It's one of those things where it's you pick up one and you think, okay, this is really good, and then you can see and you find that this whole pool of other authors that are connected to that one, and you think, oh, actually, and you can quite easily find that, oh, I haven't read a traditionally published book in ages, because there is just so much good quality choice now.
There's so much good stuff out there. Yeah, that's why you end up with shelves like this at one point.
shelves and boxes because they can fit on your shelves, and
Yeah. Well, I'm not showing this side of the room. We're staying where
who needs shelves anymore, right? You got.
No, yeah, I mean, the books stack right there, all the same shape, so you can nicely stack them.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
It's good for the authors. You're helping the authors out. It's good.
All right, I'll also put in, I already put the Instagram link in it, but I put it one more time, and your website also in the chat. Again, it's also down in the description if anyone wants to check out more of your stuff, follow you, subscribe to your newsletter. The novella, oh, that's something we should probably also mention, right? The novella is free. You can get that free on your website, right?
Yeah, so that's free on the website. It's for the ebook cover, and when the paperback comes out, it will still be free on the website. So, yeah,
awesome.
Basically, that's the best place to find it, really.
Yep. And it's fantastic. I mean, the novella on its own, I'm not a big novella person usually, but that novella was very interesting. I love that mix of mystery and fantasy in there because, there's something happens and our main character has to play detective essentially and figure out what's going on.
That's what sets it apart from the first book. I think it's more of a mystery novel. In the fantasy setting, but it's got that. I mean, it's called Empire's End, so everybody knows what's going to happen. But it's all
spoiler alert.
Yeah, whoops! I spoiled it in the title. I'm terrible at this.
No, but it's a really great novella, and it was a lot of fun reading that, and it's really quick. It's like 96 pages, I believe, is what my Kindle told me, and it's a really quick read. Like I read it in one afternoon, and it was a lot of fun. And then if you like what you see there, the novel is as fantastic. I compared it a little bit with a Malazan Light, because you have like elements. The way you write is a little bit like Stephen Erickson's in the sense of you're thrown into the world and there are a lot of names thrown around, but everything makes sense eventually. And Malazan does this on a much bigger scope with like hundreds of races and a lot more names and a lot more complicated. But you did that in a smaller scale, but without feeling small though. Like it still feels like an epic fantasy. But it's a lot of fun to read and to figure out what's going on and how everything fits together. Yeah,
that was the aim. I didn't want to like just whenever I introduce something, then just take a paragraph to explain it, or it's just a lot. Even the big thing, which could have been explained in the beginning, the reveal of who Dela is. The reason why it's like chapter 10 was like, okay, I'll just introduce the world and the states, and then people will be a little bit confused, and then by the time they get to chapter 10, and then it reveals itself. Okay, this is the actual state of the world, and this is who those characters are, and then just like, oh, that's kind of the aim with that.
Yeah, and if you're impatient like me, Ash is always there to talk to you, talk you through
I don't mind. Or the novella does. I mean, the novella kind of explains that first bit anyway. Well, if you read the novella, you'll kind of understand anyway what's going on, because you'll know who the elders are, like what they're doing, and who they are associated with.
Yeah, absolutely. On Instagram, you posted yesterday something with I will ask Fina Reads.
Oh yeah. Yes, I feel like we built a rivalry up, with teeth clicking. I when you said that, I did laugh, because when I wrote it, I was so clear of what I meant. And then afterwards, when you said, I looked at it and I was like, did I mean like, when you click your tongue at the back of your teeth? Did I mean that? And I honestly now I can't remember what. I'm not going to change it. Let's stay.
No, I would leave it as it now, definitely.
But I'm just like, did I mean tongue clicking? I did that, but it's. I mean, the thing is, luckily the character that does it is the sort of person you could be. Actually, she might.
Yeah, and I didn't question it. Like, that was the thing. Like, I didn't even question it when I read it. I was like, yeah, that totally makes sense. I understand what she is doing, right? Like, just she's disapproving right now. I get it.
Yeah.
And it was just because I was, tag videos on BookTube are a thing, and there was this question of, do you make, like, when you read a certain facial description, do you make the face? That was not the exact question, but like in the meaning of, and I'm like, is this even a thing? Who does this? Like when I read, like I have my bitch face on, because like I'm concentrated on the book and I read, I smile every now and then, if it's something funny, but other than that, I'll just stare at the book and I don't make faces. But then I just had read the sentence and I was like, ooh, that would be fun.
That's the one. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's luckily it is a character who is completely batty. And it would you could see her doing something strange like that.
Yeah, for those who are watching, that's the character I would love a novella about, because she was fantastic. I loved her. She is like that crazy, good-hearted crazy that you want to see more of.
I mean, she's one of the, without, I mean, it's not really got to spoil her because she has kind of a small-ish role in the story, but she's kind of one of those people who is, people rely on her, like even people in the inner city, in a big way. So that she's basically untouchable. So she can, whereas Cassius kind of has to play the game, but he says what he wants, but he plays the game still. She doesn't. She can do whatever she wants, wherever she wants, and if she doesn't like someone, she'll tell them to their face, and she's that, and she would laugh at people, and she's very honest and a bit mental as well.
Yeah, I love it. She's a character. Awesome. I see we're nearly at an hour now. Before we end it, is there anything else you want to talk about? Now we're done.
That's it, yeah.
We're done now. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure that we mention?
I don't think so. I think we've covered all the. I mean, the big thing for me coming up in the future is the paperback of the novella. Blender on the background. That's why.
Wait, it's not breakfast. It's late for you. Supper.
Yeah, dinner.
Dinner. Yeah, I was really like that's very in a very American word. There's a different word in English for that. That's the thing. I learned British English, right? Because I'm from Germany, so I learned British English most of my life. But 10 years in the US destroys all of that.
Yeah, it's the same language, but there's quite a lot of disparities between the two.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, paperback. Definitely keep an eye out for that for the novella. If you want to read the novella now already, it's on your website. Book is available on Amazon. Any other bookstores, or are you fixed to Amazon at the moment with Dreams?
Fixed to Amazon at the moment. I think this series will probably be fixed to Amazon, and then I'll look to expand after that. Hopefully, there'll be a bit more momentum then. So I can. It's one of those things where when you're doing your research into indie fantasy and how to do it successfully. You look at all the other platforms, and for an unknown author, it's a shame to put all your eggs in one basket and be in the monopoly that is Amazon. But without Amazon's like KDP and stuff, it's impossible to make any money as a or for the majority of people to get discovered and get readers without that platform. You get pushed aside by the more successful books. And I mean, I wouldn't have been able to. I've managed to. I think I'm approaching about 3,200 sales now. So without that, it wouldn't have. I mean, that does include. I had the free giveaway as well, which includes that as well. But without that, there's no way I would have been able to do that, which is a shame. I definitely will be looking to kind of at least have it in the other stores at paperback. But at the moment, it's just.
And you can always start one way, right? You can always change at one point. You're not forever. Like it's not Amazon only from now till the end, right? Like you could take it down and redo it if you would want to. Yeah.
I think the ebook will probably sit there because I think if I take that down, it will lose the reviews. But the paperback, the paperback. The paperback. I would be. Yeah, I definitely want to be able to get that up on other stores at the very least. So we'll look at that in the future.
By the way, that it is really hard. I don't know what is going on in my brain today, but every time your dog comes in, I want to yell, "Doggy!" Like, no, don't do this. Don't do this.
There's one up on my feet, and then Winter the Dalmatian keeps walking in and out, as he can't make his mind up where he wants to sit.
Typical Dalmatian.
I'm sat in here. They're very neat. They're very needy. They're very sensitive dogs. And then my wife is cooking, so he keeps going to see if anything's dropped on the floor. So
of course,
he thinks of his stomach. I mean, that's the way he is.
Yes, of course. Awesome. Well, Ash, thank you so much. Marilyn also says thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
To talk about your book, to talk about your writing. Thanks, guys, all for joining and for hanging out with us and I'm glad you found all a new interesting book you're excited about reading. If you want to hear more about the book, I talked a little bit about it in my we have August. July was the last month. My goodness. In my July wrap up, I talked about that a little bit, so you can go check out that video if you haven't already. And then, yeah, I'll see you all soon with another video, and have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye.